Hi, everybody. Welcome to my presentation, Five Senses to Make Sense, Selling Your Comic Online, giving you the user experience using your five senses. That's touch, sight, hearing, smell, and even sometimes taste. Thank you to ibeyond.com for allowing me to be a panelist and helping me give this great presentation to all of those viewers out there on the World Wide Web. I'm Miriam from Miriam's Mark and Company. I offer illustrations, website development, and online marketing. So welcome to it. I'm glad that you all decided to tune in. I'm going to give it a go with starting off with my presentation and sharing out the slides. So here you have it. I hope you all like my bit emoji with my burka and all. Welcome to Marion's Marketing Company. We're creative forever, and our designs is infinite. So let's go on to the next slide. So I wanted to start off with an icebreaker. Before we dive right into all the juiciness that goes on with the five senses, I want to know a little bit about you. I want to create some kind of like friendship, get to know each other a little bit better. So one of the things I wanted to know, and if you could put it in the comments or actually take my virtual poll, tell me about yourself. If you could select a comic book character, which one would you go with? My question asks, which cyborg, cartoon, or anime character would you like to be? Select them from one of these three. There's Iron Man listed. You have DC Cyborg, and he's really popular right now and cute. And then there's Cable. I was going for more so the Lady Deathstrike version of them than the X-Men one. So, but if you decide either or, it's cool. And tell me why. So give me your answer in the chat or do the virtual poll. Why don't you? To talk about what I selected, I thought for me, I would like Cable because Cable's pretty disciplined. He seems like a well-rounded dude. He's pretty focused on his mission. Like he's like laser focused on what he has to do. He has this really dry sense of humor. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of dry and it's like, did you get that? And he can time travel. Who wouldn't want to time travel? And what is so romantic is in his time travel, he's like, I'm gonna go back and I want to save my wife and kid. Like as a girl, hopeless romantic kind. I'm like melting inside. It's like, oh, you saved me. That's so sweet, like, yeah, go back and get them, So his whole mission is like, this is what I'm doing. I'm gonna get this bull. So I really enjoyed that about Cable. So I want to know which of the three that you would select between Iron Man, DC Cyborg, or Cable, and what would be your reason why? And I'll make sure to look at that and tune in, I guess, the next time I do one of these videos. Maybe I'll do a video that just only tells you all what the poll results are on my website at miriamsmark.com. So make sure you take that. And I'll give you all a minute to do that before I move on to the next slide. So I'll give you about 30 seconds. Take that poll, everybody. Now, the next one is, we're building this friendship. We're getting to know each other. You're my homies and homettes now. And, I got this thing going on with, making sure you're engaging. You're my friend. You're talking back to me. Even in this virtual setting, I want to know more stuff about you. I'm like your human Facebook right now. I'm kind of like, tell me what books you read. Tell me if you like movies. Tell me if you are a comic-y. Today, I want to know more about who's in my audience, who's actually watching and tuning in. Can you tell me if you're an artist, illustrator? Are you a painter? Are you a colorist? What is it that you actually do in the comic book arena? Are you a writer? Are you a journalist? Hey, are you like Tony here? Are you the back end person? Making sure that the virtual videos are really getting done correctly. That's really dope too. Let me know about that. Or are you like a humble supporter, loving comic books and all of the people who are involved in this environment, and you're like buying from us? Are you one of those? Tell us that as well. We think you're pretty dope. So if you're not really a artist or a writer, maybe you're a purchaser. That's also somebody that, I want to know. I want to be interested in knowing that that is you. So fill out this here poll, or you can write in the chat, one or the two. I'm welcoming all the information that I could possibly get. And guess what, everybody? While I'm building my friendship with you all and you're becoming my homies and homelets, guess what? Guess what it's going to do? Beyond being your extra Facebook, I'm going to be doing something more. If we go to the next slide, I'll tell you what. I'll be getting more information. I'm kind of using these polls for, statistics. I might as well say, just like Facebook. In a way, they're kind of like grabbing these different details about you so that they can have analytics. So I'm like your analytic right now. So I'm kind of using a different style of sensory for you. So the polls are showing me some stats. They're going to, and I'll give you those insights on my website. I'll do a video there, and I'm actually getting you to look at me and you hear my voice. So with all that, you got some sound going on all in the same moment. So let's think a little more about today's session. I'm going to ask you to follow along, and I'm going to hope that I can intrigue you to use some of your five senses in a different way. Some of my key takeaways that I'll be giving you is I want to help grow your online selling kit tool, help you understand how to grow your understanding of UX online in order to increase your orders, adding techniques to your online platform. Could be your website, your Instagram page, Twitter, Facebook, even Pinterest, to trigger some sales, hopefully. And I would also like to be able to use at least one or two of these senses so that your potential customers' senses will make some financial sense, online. So those are some goals. And I like to make some goals, a little bulletproof points never really hurt anybody. So come along with this journey with me as we go through this. Next slide, please. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. I know it looks like a lot of small print, and it really is. At the end of the day, we're not here for all of that. I am going to introduce myself once more. I am Miriam from Miriam's Mark and Company. We offer marketing, ads, arts, and illustrated. It's a family-owned and operated company because you're my family. I have a family that actually assists me as well, but you're my family, and it has a family life story. My father was an artist as well as a store owner, like a convenience store. And from there, I kind of got the muscle from that. My bonus mom was a business owner, my stepmom, business owner. So it kind of runs in our blood. It's kind of the thing to do around here. But I am also a teacher by day. So I was able to find a new thing to do to implement some of these strategies as I go through my knowledge base. I have a bachelor's degree. I'm like a couple quarters away or classes away from getting my master's in information technology. And the list goes on. And I don't want to bore you because that's not what you're here for. I got the accolades, the gold stars, but you want to get to the coin. So let's get there. Let's go to the next slide. I'll tell you about some of my actual experiences. A few of my past clients have been the Pascalville Library Partnership, Mural Arts in Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, doing different artwork for them. Perfect Photo, Smart Responsible Gaming. I say yes, and the list goes on. I had a partnership with the Delaware Estuary, Palma.us, Zion and Mercy, and a few more. Right now, I'm working with a new batch of people, and I'll be able to update my 2021 past clients, and I hope that you'll be one too. So the list can grow, and I really, really am excited for what I have been able to do and what I enjoy to continue to do. So welcome you to me, and we are getting to know each other, aren't we? We're like super close to being besties. If we could go to the next slide, I'll introduce you to someone else, and hopefully you all know her. This is Whoopi Goldberg. When I was a little kid, my sister took me to see Jumpin' Jack Flash, and I was probably too young to even be in the movie theater, but I just loved screens. It didn't matter if it was a TV screen, a movie screen. I just was captivated. But Whoopi Goldberg actually made me listen to her when she was doing her part in Jumping Jack Flash. And while she played the Terry Doolittle in this movie, she was working with computers. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's this? This gadget. And once I figured it out, I'm like, computer, as a little kid. And my mom was like, yeah, you all should get into computers. I listened to her and I went for the computers because partially Whoopi Goldberg was creating this conversation using DOS with this person on the computer on the other side of the screen. And it was like, how did you do that? I wanted to know. And I grew up with this idea in the back of my mind that I'm going to become Terry Doolittle somehow, some way. And I'm going to figure out different ways to code or decode and learn different languages the way she had been able to when Whoopi Goldberg played her. So I hope that I'm doing a good job. And some of the languages that I learned was how to sell using your five senses to sell. So let's see how we can implement a little bit of ourselves as Whoopi Goldberg playing Terry Doolittle in today's workshop online. Let's go on to our next one, please. So from there, we had talked about decoding some messages. We have our chat going, hopefully. And beyond decoding the chat, I wanted to build other languages. And one thing that I do want to do is make sure that you all know for participating in today's lesson, you can also download a free copy. There's a few different ways that you can do this. You can stop what you're doing, grab your cell phone, go over to your camera and get to the QR code. Opt in by giving your name and your email, and then hit the download now button. And right then and there, you'll have your own PDF of the workbook to keep for yourself so that you can implement some of the strategies that I'll show you today. Okay, so let's make sure that you all get a chance to do that. And we'll also be focusing on selling triggers, a few techniques to implement, some books, research or statistics, the seminars, and listening and really hearing, taking notes and taking notice. And then we'll go from there. Next slide, please. And here you go again. You can QR code it or you can opt in. There is a link available that you can just get to the landing page that has the workbook on it. It's going to lead you to the same exact place. Either way you want to do it is fine. You can opt in by going to the QR code, or you can go to this link that's listed on the screen now so that you can get your free workbook. All I'm asking for is a little from you and a little from me. I give you a workbook if you give me your name and email address, and allow me to follow up to see if you implemented any strategies, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. I take those too. So let's go on to the next screen, everybody, and let's get into it. Let's talk about some things. So you learned about me. You told me all about the different comic books you might like, as well as if you're a writer or artist or a supporter. Now I want to introduce you to someone else. I don't have a live guest today because I have some illustrated guests, and I want you to meet them and get to know both of them as much as you possibly can. The two guests I have their names are George and Dawn, and they'll be a part of our experience today. I'm going to give you a quick sense story about them both, and hopefully you'll follow along, see what it is that they were able to do and what you can do as well. So let's meet both of them, and if you're ready, I hope you can put "I am ready" in the chat, because if not, we're going to go either way. We can go to the next one, please. So this here is Dawn. Special thank you to Israel for helping me illustrate this. He's a really great illustrator. So this is Dawn. She is our humble, loving daughter. She's the daughter of George. George is a highly talented artist who was having some issues making online sales. So to try to make him feel better, his daughter Dawn went and baked him some cookies. So she yells up, Papa, I baked some cookies. Come on and get them. She's trying to cheer him up like good daughters would do. Daddy girls are definitely for the, making smiles kind of thing. So she's like, come and get them. Let's move on to the next one. Well, he never came to get him. George is into, his moment where he's like, Dad, I'm trying to think. I'm not trying to leave here until I get whatever it is that I need to really pulsate through my mind. But he can't get it. He's stuck. So while all this is going on, he's like, all right, so what I'll do is just sit here. And that only made Dawn feel a little frustrated. She's like, I said, come and get it. These cookies aren't going to walk over to you. And I'm sure we all heard that statement before. You've had a sibling, a friend, a cousin, mom, dad saying, I told you come get this. It's not going to work. And they brought it to you either way. But I'm sure we all heard that statement. But the way it was received by George is a little bit different. And it's like, wow, these cookies smell really good. But wait a minute. There's something more happening with George. You see how he lit up? He's all yellow. Now, like, wait a minute. So let's take a deep breath, everybody, before we go too fast, because I'm one of those people that like to make sure your blood is rushing, and I want to make sure mine just kind of calms down a little bit. So take a deep breath. Let's smell the cookies. I have another friend of mine who's the actual therapist, and her name is Miriam, like me, but with an I, and she's like, smell the cookies and blow it out so that you can kind of take a deep breath sometimes. So let's take that deep breath really quick, and then we'll move on to see what's going on with George. All right, so here he is. Eureka! That's it. He's like, I got it. Wait a minute. So if you ever heard a one-liner that's got your creative buzzes moving, and you felt that before, and you're like, what is going on? Right, if that's you, if you ever experienced something like that, his daughter only said, this isn't going to come to you. And now he's like, I got it. That's it. What do you all think George might do? What do you think is about to happen now? George is like, I got it. But what is it that he got? I want to hear from you all. This is the third poll. I know I'm asking you to do stuff on a Sunday. The rude is me. Golly geez. But I want to know your insight. I'm trying to get to know you better because we're friends. We're like, Facebook buddying it up real good now. I'm like your girl Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm asking you to do stuff. What is George going to do? You mind taking my third poll? And I promise this is my last poll. I just want some more, insight so that we can be friends. So after you take my poll, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that George might be doing. I've done this presentation in person a time or three, and I've gotten a few different people say different answers as their results. So I kind of want to know what you all might say, and if you'll say something different. And I'm going to honestly say, when we did this in person, everybody had something different to say, very far away with what's actually about to occur, but I'm totally here for it. So give me your shout, and we'll go from there. So let's go to the next slide so I can kind of reveal what it is. Woo, child. Let me tell you, he is going for in-person shopping. He's going outside, everybody. Oh my goodness. I know you're probably like, no, that's not what happens. He was going to make a magic trick. No, he was going to make this inanimate object create the cookies and stuff in the house to float. The Jetsons little robot was going to come. That's not what happened here. Not in the likeness at all. Instead, he just went in-person shopping. I know this is an online session. I get it. Well, everything does start at art. And George could just go to the Amazon.com, but he kind of wanted some fresh air, and he wanted to go inside of a nicely laid out architectural building, and he did that. So to give you my artist story, what else should you do? Go outside a little bit. Create a little impulsive shopping when you have this big idea going on. And I know he could have went online and I could have made the story a little focused to just that, but zing it up a little bit, why don't I? So he did some online, he went and did some impulsive shopping. He went outside and he swiped his credit card. He needed to create some artwork, and now he needs to create it and by doing and getting some new art supplies. He went to the store, he got some canvas, he got some comic book sketchbooks and markers and pens and things of that nature. So he's all ready to go because he has this big idea. So let's move on to the next big part of this. So let's join in the fun. He's sitting down, he's at his sketch table, he has his canvas up, he's doing like 3 different things. You can look and see a little bit better. He's sketching something and there's things going on. He even has little notes at the top. Thank you, Israel, for your very detailed illustration. And he's just kind of really ready to make this, I guess, brain freeze go away. He's like, brain freeze no more. So let's move a little bit further into this presentation. Next, please. So let's back it up a bit. I mentioned a little bit that we did this in person, and in person it was a little different. So the 5 senses to make sense post-pandemic was definitely a different style. We were talking more so about an actual physical store, the display of it, the layout of it, the focal points of creating different, I guess, visual displays, and so that you can sell in that way. Using like a groupie effect, if you had like a physical store, if you were to take 3 items, let's say you have 3 different toys, you have your comic book, but your comic book might have some actual merch going on. You might have, let's just use Cyborg because he's in our poll. Let's say you have 3 different Cyborg toys and you want to sell them, but they're all different. Well, you can still do that if you were to take all 3 of them and make a visual effect of them sitting together, but they all pivot in a way where one in the middle is standing a little higher than the other 2, and you're visually creating a triangle. And let's say right over that triangle, there's a sign that says buy now, or it says 50% off today only, or something like that. Creating that visual effect, both that triangle is going to allow your customers to see the sign above it, and it might impulse them to really go and grab it a little quicker than it was if everything was flat. So that was what we were discussing post-pandemic. But now that we're all on the World Wide Web together, we had to change it up a bit and give you other triggers for online selling tools that is kind of like taking your floor plan to a code online. So welcome to the presentation as I give you other pointers and directions, and I hope that we can help convert this a little bit differently. So I have some tips and some statistics we're going to go into. So let's go to the next slide. So I guess you can say there's an online gold mine happening. It might have always been happening. The .com, I guess, back in the day isn't the same as today at all. Just about anybody can get a domain name. So, but the statistics since the pandemic has really changed. Statistically, George, he's like, I only want at least 2% of the $1 billion. So let's list out these different stats. There are 12.3 million women-owned businesses in the United States right now. Those women-owned businesses are generating about $1.8 trillion annually. It might be more come the end of this year, I'm not sure. But let's just, keep an eye out. Let's go to something else. If there's a total retail sale for the first quarter of 2021, where there's an estimation of $1,581. $1,581.4. I don't want to excuse that. The $1,581.4 billion, and an increase of 7.8% from the fourth quarter, and that's Census Bureau. So that's from census.gov. and you can check that out to see if there's any updates since I last checked. But the first quarter, that's a big amount of money. We're about to be in the first quarter of the next. So let's see what the comparisons will be. So follow along with that one. And the last one, and I hope this is something that really, really attracts you all the way it's attracting George. The revenue from comic and graphic novel sales in North America rose from $1.09 billion in the United States during 2018 to $1.21 billion in the United States in 2019. And that's from Statista.com. I know that these numbers are from 2019. 2020 is kind of like, there's a lot of changes happening. Of course, it's a pandemic still happening right now. So it's kind of like, well, what's the sales for 2020? Unfortunately, I couldn't really find the updated stats, but I do want to make sure that you know what they were, so that if 2020 kind of shook it up a bit, you can create an idea for online sales to pump it up a bit. And that's really the goal. You want to pump it up for the next go round. I always tell my customers to kind of plan 6 months out. And I think that's a really good thing to do. So let's say, I know we're in August. You might as well say we're almost in September. Plan for February for the most part. So George needs 2% of 1 billion in 6 months. It's possible. Maybe, believe it, you'll achieve it. I'm full of those cliches. So let's go to the next one, and we're going to start talking about the actual census. I'm going to start off with site as the first one using for selling your comic online. So the first one for user experience, I have some tips here. My first thing is for site, I want you to make sure that you are using what content is displayed on your website to make visitors have a feeling, or better yet, a reaction. You want them to move a little bit, Don't just have them sit there kind of spaced out. You have somebody sitting on your website for too long, they'll kind of move away, Statistically, you have 6 seconds to sell online, more so than any place else. So in the first 6 seconds, you have to capture their energies and make sure they react to it. So some ways you can do that is you can make sure that you're giving clear direction. Make sure that your menu online is clear. The actual tabs or pages are accurate. So your home page is home. Your comic book page is comic book page. Your merchandise page is really saying merchandise page. Don't have like home page and then it's comic book page and then it's like yellow sky blue. It's your third page. It's like, what is yellow sky blue? This is silly. And they might leave. Some might click it, but they may not give you the right kind of result that you're looking for. So make sure you're, clear with your menu. The next one is making sure you have clear images. What are you selling? Give it a clear, clean background. It's not always a good thing to take your product or your comic book, which usually has a lot going on some of the images. You want them to really look at your cover. That's your first face to sell. So if that's the case, you should have your comic book on a white background, off-white background, light gray, light blue, even a light tan or light pink if you need it, but a solid color, something that will create a stay. Don't put it next to something busy. Don't lay it in the grass and over top of a bunch of daffodils unless it's a black and white cover or something like that. Or it's a white cover with black line. If it's something like that, okay. But if it's, the normal way comic books are made today, putting it over top of like an amusement park isn't really the best idea. It'll look too busy. Customer's eye will move around too much. It won't have a focal point and people will bounce. You need stayers. Another thing to do is give yourself some action words. CTAs are really needed. So make sure you're using terms like buy now, download today, join us here. Things like that will actually give you a call to action. You want to do that so that your customers know what it is that you need or expect from them. So if you want them to buy now, really say buy now. If you want them to download something, let them know, download it today, download it now, download it here, so that they're aware on what it is that they need to click. And again, I already talked about the color somewhat when it comes to the background of your image, but also when it comes to the layout background of your homepage or your website in full, making sure that you don't have too many things going on. It's like, I don't know where to look. They got a billion things moving. You can train the eye to stay put if it's still kind of clean. But if you're 18 things, like, I don't know. Make sure you're training their eye when you're using Site to Sell. Let's go on to the next one and give you a few examples. The next one is George and his cookie. So George took his cookie and he drew a few different images. As an illustrator myself, sometimes I need to draw a few times, to whatever it is. If it's a character, a commission job, I need to draw that actual image a few different times. And he drew this artwork, the eyes open, the eyes closed. This artwork was done by Ashanta, another illustrator, and it's on a clear background, white, clean background. Nothing else is too busy. It's, displayed on straight edges, square, and soft colors are in the background. It looks like, hanging out in the gallery. George is getting somewhere. You can sit down, relax, and that kind of calms the energy too. Just having the chair is like, I'm just going to sit here and look at this cookie for a little while. If you go to the next one, you'll see that George has a visitor in the room checking out his artwork, wanting to see it a little closer, using that magnifying lens so that they can see it a little closer. And that magnifying lens allows some movement. And again, you kind of want some movement while on the website. So that magnifier really does that. And it allows you to enjoy the artwork while you're doing that. So it's like, if I just take something and put it over the artwork, it'll look, like there's a motion happening. It's not really, but online it can happen. We go to the next one. There's, a page. If you haven't already downloaded the workbook, there's some pages inside the workbook, and I just wanted to show them here. And if you're taking notes now, you can also do it while you're at home or wherever you may be. Write down 5 different ideas on how you can utilize Site to engage your online visitors. So this is one of the ways you can start implementing right now, or implementing when you get your workbook. Just write down some ideas that you might have, and it might go pretty well. So make sure you do download the workbook. What do you think you can do, and how can you enhance your website or your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages, I guess, right away? The next one I want to introduce you to is Touch. For Touch, I know we're online. We're on the World Wide Web, but you can still sell your comic book online using Touch. Using images or photos of hands touching your product can create a deeper connection to your potential buyer. So, for instance, one of the things that I would suggest doing is with your comic book, actually have a picture of a customer, a friend of yours, because we're friends here, we're buddies, holding your comic book and actually reading it. They're actually engaging in it, and they look like they are just like waiting for the next thing. They're just getting to the climax of the story, and they're like, they're mind mapping. You take a picture of that. It's also great to have pictures of them holding it up, showing that they bought it, but really it's better to make them look like they're really engaging with your actual product, your comic book. So taking pictures of that is really, really great, and implement them into your website so that people will see it. Another thing that you can also do is make sure you're clear on naming your products, what they are. Even when you're uploading your products, make sure that you're actually naming what they are, and even incorporating the name of your company or website or your comic book while you're doing it. So for instance, George is making a cookie, making something with a cookie. He's uploading his cookie that's blinking, or he might make a cookie t-shirt, upload it saying Cookie Killer graphic t-shirt, or Cookie Killer walking comic book, or Cookie Blinking by George, whatever. So that when you upload it, you have some organic SEO going on. And that really matters as well. So keep that in mind. I have another tip. Another tip for some of my writer friends that we just made. You can use relating words, touch words, like related touch words, in your actual written content so that you can engage that way. So if you're giving a description about your comic book, or you're even showing like a line or two about your comic book, a little excerpt, you can write something like, the cookie feels really good when I chew it. It goes down my throat, really soft. I don't know, something like that. So some of the terms that I listed are feels good, smooth, pucker, grab, kiss of death. Things like that can, really be relatable. They sound touchy as well, and that can still engage your audience when they read the description to see what it is, and that can trigger something as well. And continue to use calm colors. Don't go thinking, oh, I'm on the touch page, I could do something totally different. Keep calm colors and keep your colors consistent. That's important as well. So if your home page is like blue, don't go over to your shopping page and then it's like orange, red, and yellow. Keep your pages consistent. Even match your comic book or match your brand. If you don't have a brand, get one. But make sure they're all pretty consistent so you're not like, creating too many emotions in your customers or your users that visit your website and then they bounce. Again, we want people to stay. You got 6 seconds to sell. So let's go on to the next one. The next one, feels like a sell. Uh-oh, George, we're getting somewhere. George's cookie art is making people want to touch it. It looks so real, right? It's like, oh, I want to touch it. Is this a cookie? Is this a chocolate chip? That looks so great. And someone's reaching to actually feel it and see how does it feel? Does it actually have the chocolate chip lumps? Can I touch on that? Not sure, but it looks amazing. And many customers who touch or see a product also mostly sometimes are triggered to purchase. So keep that in mind. Not always, but a lot of the times those people who touch will convert, or if they see someone else touching. So again, those images of people reading your book and holding it in their hands are really important because they'll see it. Like if you even go and shop in the store for a shirt, if someone else grabs this shirt that you might have wanted and then they put it down, there's probably 3 other people who will reach out to try to get that shirt because they saw someone else touch it. It's just like a mental trigger. So keep that in mind. And then when you go to the next page, I want you to list out 3 things or 3 ways that you can utilize touch. Again, engaging your online visitors. What would you do? I gave you some tips, but you might have some that I hadn't thought of. So make sure that you write those down and implement them today. Why wait? It's here for you to start selling your products and your comic books online. So how about you start listing out some 3 things that you can do, change, or implement right away? The next one, let's move on to the next one. This is our third sense. We already went through sight. We went through touch. Now we're at smell. I know you're like, online smell. What the heck is that about? That sounds kind of silly to smell a digital device. I'm not asking you all to do that. I don't want them to sniff their keyboards. I'm not that silly. But one of the things is you can highlight in your comic book some things that have some strong, yummy aromas or illustrations, some photos, or even some written text. One tip is, or in fact, illustrate or describe some recognizable scents in a way that the majority, if not all of your visitors, instantly feel relaxed and happy to be here on your website. So we're talking about cookies, and let's say he would say something like delicious chocolate in the air because it's chocolate chip cookies. You feel like you smell them instantly, you know. He sips his coffee while he's tapping on his finger. You don't have to say much about coffee. You can write down the word coffee, and all of a sudden, people smell it. It's the same with hot dogs. When you write down, or you say, or someone reads the word hot dog, all of a sudden, you get all these glands in your mouth that start to water, and you want to eat a hot dog all out of nowhere. I don't know why, but it's like all of a sudden you want one. It's just the way it goes. But you can write about that and people will kind of be triggered. And you want to do that so that you can use scents to sell. They have a fact. I don't want to say that, but there is a fact. Scent really matters online. There's a fact that says smell triggers 10,000 memories. 10,000 of the memories in your membrane up here upstairs in your mind. If you have 10,000 memories that you can trigger, how about using some words that can invoke customers prior in-person shopping memories so that they can actually buy some online? So you might say something like, have you ever had a chocolate chip cookie? Did it walk to you? Mine didn't either. Well, you might want to write that down because they all of a sudden will think about the time they had to walk and get a chocolate chip cookie from the local store. All of a sudden, these kinds of things will be like, yeah, I remember I did have one. I had a chocolate chip cookie. And they might actually want to know more about your chocolate chip cookie because of the way you wrote about it and how delicious that chocolate chip cookie had smelled, taste, or what have you. So, try to alter your tense when you're writing your content so that your customers are more engaged and they smell that cookie. You take a deep breath and they sit there and they're like, I want to buy something else. I want to know more about George and his cookie, right? So if we go to the next one, we see that George got another person in here checking him out in his cookie, and they're reading the name and the description of his artwork. The artwork gives some key details like the ingredients, or maybe even something else about this killer cookie idea that might not walk to you or something. But if you leave some details on there about how good it smelled and how well Dawn cooked it, you might be on to something. Here's another tip. They say that men will leave a feminine smelling store. So be careful of how you write your content. Women don't linger in smells of masculinity. So, sweaty sock areas aren't really the thing. So keep that in mind, not always at least. And be aware of who your top buyers are. Speak to them. I know there's a love language, people. I get it. There's a buyer's language too. So the tier system of buyers is different. Just know what the vocabulary are for the ones that you are already attracting so that you can continue to talk to them and others will follow. If they're already there for you and they're already talking, they're already interested in what it is that you have to offer. All you have to do is keep on the conversation and maybe implement some of these different tools, the 5 senses to keep them engaged. Even break it up a little bit so that you keep conversating with them by using the smell or something. If we go on to the next one, I'll invite you to try taste online. And I know that sounds so silly. Taste. How are they going to use taste online? What are they going to eat using taste online? You just might want to trigger the idea of taste. You're just triggering them. They're not going to eat the keyboard. They're not. I promise you, I'm not going to invite them to bite any keys off. The ASDF is fine. All you have to do is probably tell the people on there or have people on there smell something, have them lick the lips a little bit, add some food that looks tasty. We receive mental imagery of ourselves tasting a food when we see them. Even when we see others, even if you're not even selling anything food related, you can still implement something food related into it. And I know that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure it will. If you say that, Sarah was, licking her lips after eating this delicious chocolate chip cookie. And then all of a sudden, an army of chocolate chip cookies ran in because they ate her brother. How dare she do something like that? Oh no! All of us, this is what your comic book might be about. I don't know. You got like a killer cookie happening. So the description can still be, active and pretty fun. And Tolkien Z says she wants a cookie now. See what I'm saying? Prime example. I'm doing good. I tell myself positive affirmations. I hope you do too. So you want to, implement a cookie somehow, some way, or implement a food so that you can have other people want some of these different products. And, add an image, eating the snack. And while they're eating this snack, they could be reading your comic book too. So the next one is another page out of the workbook, and you can list 5 different ways you can implement smell or taste. Use them for the same one because they kind of merge together in a lot of ways. So use this same sheet, do maybe 3 for taste and 2 for smell, and implement them into your online sales right away. Why wait? If we go on to the next one, and we're almost finished. We're like at sound now. We're at the 5th one. I know we're like best friends now, and you're like, oh no, we're getting to the end. How am I going to be her bestie? She going to leave me, but I'm not. I'm always here. I'm online all the time. I'm like addicted and stuff. I said 3 years old or something. I was in a movie trying to figure out Japan Jack Flash on a computer. So I'm here a lot. Nevertheless, I want to go on to sound. And have you ever seen that commercial where he's like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Let's say we were to hear cha-ching, and I'm just going to make a little sound effect so you can all hear it. That kind of sound. If you can include imagery that depicts a sound or even makes a sound, you can create joy in your customers. I hope my little bell is making some joy out there online for everyone who is tuning in ever so fun and gracefully. So I want to make some joy because I want my customers to feel happy, or my visitors to feel happy, stay, get to know me, and be my friend. So one way that I can do that is sound. I can put a chime, I can put a ching ching, sound on there, and that's pretty subtle. But make sure you're lowering the volume depending on which sound you decide to choose. Psychology Today has an article by Emily, and she wrote, shoppers make more impulsive purchases when they're overstimulated. Loud volume leads to sensory overload, which weakens their self-control. So have you ever been in some of these stores and they have this real good playing music and you're singing to it, and you go in the store, and we're in a comic book store. Let's say we're in a comic book store, and there's like all these comic books that you want. And you done grab about 5 comic books. And then there's like, well, I got to get some toys. My niece's birthdays are coming up, and my nephew needs something. He's going off to college. So I buy all these different items, and before you know it, my hands are full. I got all this stuff, and I'm walking up to the cash register. I grab a cart because I'm still singing to this song, and I got all this stuff in the cart. Before you know it, I probably went in there for a $10 comic book and walked out spending $200 because I'm singing to this song and I'm overstimulated. I've lost self-control, and before you know it, you made the money. You made the money as a store owner. You can do the same thing online by creating a mood system on your website by making sure that you weaken self-control of your visitor. I know that sounds suspicious, but that's all right. Just go with it. Just do it anyway. Make sure they trust you. Make sure you fulfill the order. Make sure you say thank you, and make sure you use this to your abilities because you want to sell your comic online. That's what I'm here to tell you about, folks. I want to make sure you're doing your 5 senses to sell. And this one here, I want you to make sure that you create some weakenings of self-control. My next one shows how George had some sound at the click. For his checkout, he can make it chime. There's a shopping cart noise when you're putting things inside the cart. You can make a coin sound when people are paying. You can even add a pop-up menu so people can opt in for stuff so that you can push your online sale or add-on sale, I should say. Even in a physical store at the register, they always have something up there. It might be really small, no bigger than an inch or two, but they want to sell you something else. And if you're really good at sales in your cash register, you should be asking them, would you like me to add this on for you? It's only $2. You want to do that same feature online. So do that and make sure that you stay in constant contact with your customers by collecting their data and creating an email platform to let them know when you have something else on sale. If we go to the next one, you'll see my cool friend here. She's, chilling. She's at home. She's looking at this cookie. She's going through this customer experience. She's putting, her cookie in the shopping cart. And this whole time, she's kind of been having a great shopping experience. She actually was never inside of an arts place. No, she didn't go to the art museum at all. She's been shopping online this entire time. If you go to the next one, this one also is another customer having an experience sitting at her desk on a computer. She's on her laptop and she's shopping. She's home. She never went nowhere. This whole time, it's been an experience online. It felt like a museum, but I'm sorry, it's not. That's kind of what you want to do. You want to make sure that your online shopping experience is the same as it would be in person by implementing these different strategies that a lot of in-person stores have. It's just making it transitional, adding a little code, a little WordPress, and you got it. If we go to the next one, we'll see how well George has made a successful online business. He has an e-com store now. He went from having a writer's blank, creatively like darkening moment, and he's like, I can't do anything. And now he has a full-on store with merchandise, add-on sales. He's using different features so that people can be triggered to sell, and he lets his customers know that their purchases were successful, which is really a good thing. You don't want to be like, I don't know if it went through, I ain't sure. You really do want to make sure that your customers have a grand experience by telling them they did a great thing and they really were able to successfully buy from you. And then make sure that you have your extra products that pop along with it. In the next slide, George is happy. He's relaxing, making that dough. The laptop is showing that he has some new orders received. He has some sound on his side too, so that he has some notifications and he's aware that he's actually doing a really great job and he has a successful system going on. And now people are able to purchase from mobile devices as well as online, and he has a full thing going on. He's made his comic book of the killer cookie who can walk, along with he has a hat, a t-shirt, and the whole shebang. And Dawn is really excited because all she said was, the cookie can't walk to you. And now in fantasy comic book land, there's a cookie coming to a room near you. Watch out. I'm ready for it. So if you were to implement sound and you go to the next one, just write down 3 different ways on how you can implement sound into your comic book. And then if a cookie can do all that, I don't want it no more. It's too late. You already ate the cookie. It's too late. No. You had the cookie, and this cookie making some money. He's trying to get 2% of 1 billion. Don't lose sight of the goal here. You want this cookie. It's your cookie. You control the narrative, okay? The next slide, just to start wrapping this up, the goal in business is income. That was a good lead way from Token ZZZ. The goal in business is income. Compete effectively by using the 5 senses to make sense financially. You're only as rich as your finest customer, so make sure to attract them today. Stimulate consumer sales with proper displays of your products from the front door to the back of the store. And again, reminder to open online stores and carts. By a business owner's goal is to make change that fold while building customer relationships with giving memorably great experiences. So try the 5 senses system today. Hopefully you'll be able to implement them. And if you need anything, I'm here for you. I'm Miriam from miriammark.com. And if you have any questions, we'll go to the next slide. And hopefully we'll have about 5 minutes to do that. Or you can email, call, or text me. Any questions or comments? I'm here for it. Anything? Token Z has no questions. Z. No, we can go. I'll give everybody a minute. And you can also take a picture of the screen so that you can keep in contact with me. Email or text me. Call or text me at 267-474-6713. And my email again is info@miriamsmark.com. I'm Miriam, no S. I'm sorry, I keep confusing people. There's no S on my name. It's like Miriam's making her mark, your mark, our mark. It's cool. I'm a tad late. It's a long story, but I enjoy what I am able to hear. It's okay. Thanks to our friends. This is taped. It's somewhere streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and I think Twitch on Nerves of the Realm. So if you miss anything, it'll be available. If you go to the next one, all I want to do is say thank you to everybody. And please do make sure that you download your free e-workbook. All you have to do is opt in by giving your name and your email address, and then click the download now button, because I'm telling you what to do. And then you'll be able to get your own copy of a workbook that will help you implement some of these strategies. And of course, reach out if you have any questions or need any additional guidance. And I'm here for this, Watch out for the killer cookies, though, because they're not real. They're not going to get you, token ZZZ. But I think it's a pretty fun story because I'm welcoming you into my little mindset so that I can introduce you to my, illustrated friends, so I can tell you my story in a quick sense kind of way. And I thought I hope I make sense. That's all I'm trying to do. If you have anything else, I think there's one more slide just to give my artists a plug. My two artists are Israel Rodriguez as well as Ashante Rossi, who helped me create this presentation. And I couldn't do it all myself. Got to help other people so that I can be helped. So for all that, thank you. And thank you again for helping me at Mbeyond and allowing me to be one of your panelists. Thank you, Mbeyond.com, for all of the assistance that you're giving me, including letting me stream on your platform. And if you have any questions, comments, or you want to reach out, visit my website at miriamsmark.com. And I hope to see you soon and continue to build all these cultivating relationships in the comic book world with you online. Thank you all for tuning in, and check out my website soon because I'll put up the poll statistics there and maybe make a video on different things. And if you did opt in, guess what else? I'll send you the video right that way. That'll help me too. So I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to be here. And thank you all. Till next time.